think that you will be successful at the Court of Appeal when you weren't at the High Court?
Well, there's no guarantee of success, of course, but the main basis of our appeal will be that in the judgment yesterday, the judge didn't give sufficient consideration to the very powerful evidence from the UNHCR. And the UNHCR set out very graphically why they felt the policy was unlawful, the real risks for those people who would be sent on to Rwanda, including the very real risk of those people being forcibly sent against international law back to countries where they face the real threat of persecution. And we think it's essential to test this out in an appeal court before the flights take place on Tuesday. But whether we win or not at the Court of Appeal, of course, the legality of this proposal will only be tested out in the full court hearing in July. And we're very confident that we will be successful in that full hearing.
The High Court judge did go over this, didn't he, though? And he did conclude that there wasn't evidence to suggest there'd be ill treatment or anything that violated people's rights under the UK's Human Rights Act.
Well, that's what he concluded yesterday. Although it's important, I think, to stress that the full evidence, of course, hasn't been presented. That will happen in the full hearing. But if I could remind your listeners, it was only a couple of months ago that we went through this exact same process over the Home Office's policy of turning back small boats in the Channel, the so-called pushback policy, where the Secretary of State wanted PCS members in the border force to risk people's lives by forcing them back in the Channel. And we sought 2 injunctions to stop that policy. Both those injunctions failed, but when it came to the full court hearing, the Home Office withdrew completely all the procedures because they knew they would lose. So an injunction is one thing. It's disappointing we didn't get that yesterday. We hope we will in the Court of Appeal, but in the full hearing we think history will repeat itself and these atrocious proposals will be found to be illegal. And of course legality is one thing, but I hope we also get the chance to talk about the morality and lack of humanity in these proposals, which have been condemned not just by Prince Charles seemingly, but by the Archbishop of Canterbury, all the leading charities, the UNHCR, and indeed the workers who I represent, who will be told to do these dreadful things.
And those staff, those people you represent in the Border Force, they see the reality of these channel crossings, don't they, every day? And of course they happen at tremendous risk to life, despite their efforts at times when they manage to save people from drowning. That is exactly what this policy is aimed at stopping.
Well, allegedly it's aimed at stopping this policy, but of course we all know, and our members know, the way to stop people being forced into these crossings, and let's be clear, nobody would do this unless they were incredibly desperate. The way to stop these crossings is to allow people safe, legal routes into the UK so that we can fulfill our international obligations and we can assess their cases. Because what is often forgotten, Michelle, is that 75% of the people who come to this country this way are given some form of leave to remain. And so the question is not the way by which they come. They shouldn't have to come by dinghy. They should be able to come through safe legal routes, but they are denied that. And because we are an island nation, the government essentially is making an argument that says this is everybody else's issue to deal with. We will not have people come to this country. We'll do everything we can to stop them coming. And now if they do get here, we will take the barbaric act of sending them to Rwanda, when some of the people yesterday that the court did not send, because the Home Office withdrew them at the last minute, were coming from Iran, Armenia, from Yemen, truly desperate situations. Why on earth does anyone think it's right that we send those people to Africa to have their cases heard when they are coming to this country in many cases because they have family here or because this is the country they choose to have their asylum case heard in?
If you are unsuccessful and this policy is given the green light and the flights do happen, do you think some of your members would refuse to put people on these flights against their will, because they would be involved, wouldn't they, in the process?
Well, our members are involved in this process from start to finish. It ends with people being put on flights, but it starts very early on with identifying the individuals concerned, running through a process of putting them into this system. And it's a case in the Home Office that there's an unprecedented opposition to this policy. It started at the very top. Priti Patel had to overrule the Permanent Secretary.
Would your members refuse to take part? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, our members are hoping we win the legal challenge.
Yes, but if you don't?
Well, we will talk to our members about what they will do. We're actually confident we will win the legal case in July. I would urge the MP who's about to come on after me to say to Priti Patel, for God's sake, do not deport a single person until the full legality of this issue can be tested out in July. Because if you send someone to Africa and it is subsequently found to be illegal, that is on your conscience, and our members should not be in a position that they are being asked to do things that could potentially force to be illegal.
Mark Savotka, thank you very much. And Peter Bone, Conservative MP and former chairman of the All-Party Group Against Human Trafficking, was listening to that. Morning, Mr. Bone.
Good morning.
Could we start with that final point about waiting for the full legality of this policy to be tested before the flights begin?
Well, the policy's been through Parliament, and Parliament makes the laws, and the courts interpret them. And the government believes what they're doing is completely legal. It's being tested in the court. It was tested in the court yesterday, wasn't it? And it was found to be completely legal. So it's for government to make laws in this country, and it's not for trade unions to make laws in this country.
It's a process, though, isn't it? It's a legal process which will take some time to run its course. Why not respect that?
Yeah, but we are respecting it, and I think there's another court hearing early next week, isn't it? Monday. But that's how the system works. If you think that there's something so dreadful and it needs looking into further, you ask for an injunction. They did. The people did that, and they didn't get it granted. The judge didn't agree with them.
Okay, so you're in no doubt that it's legal. Is it moral? Prince Charles reportedly thinks it's appalling.
Well, you have no idea what Prince Charles thinks. Like the Queen, he doesn't express views on political matters. So speculation, what anyone thinks is one thing, but to say that Prince Charles has said something is completely wrong. I think, by the way, that the moral question is the important thing, and I think it is absolutely morally right. I spent years campaigning and fighting against these evil people smugglers, gangs when I was chairman of the All-Party Group Against Human Trafficking. They're the most evil people on the earth, and anything we can do to stop that, we should do. And that's why I'm disappointed with people who oppose